we launch in 1 month. Fortunately for all of us, it's in Florida. This is a really, really big deal. The reason this is
They make me rich, I make them rich. Ain't that some shit? Now watch this, look, more cash.
Alright, we made it. I got one of my guys with me, Patrick. We came up to West Palm Beach and we're gonna link up with some, looks like some rideshare drivers over there. See a Lyft driver, we're gonna, come with us. People meet, hey, all right, there's Joe right there. All right.
All right, come in.
Yeah.
Turn your phones down. Turn your phone on.
Take a ride, you're earning, and every time you take a ride, how many of you have taken rides yourself? Although we're drivers, I've taken rides many a times. All right, you're gonna earn even on your own ride that you take. Because you have the app, you have the rider app, and you have the driver app. Okay. Folks, right there, we beat the competition. Right there, 100% of the ride fare and tip. Driver keeps 100% of wait time and cancellation fees. Trip. Robert was the guy I introduced to Trip, okay? So every driver knows other drivers. The most beautiful system. I've been in marketing.
good to see you guys. So we're just gonna talk about a little bit of kind of like our journey through this process, what we're doing, where we see our company going. We're gonna kind of give you the ethos of our company. I do want to start off with a lot of you guys are rideshare drivers and you kind of know how Uber and Lyft operate. Some of you don't, so I just want to give you a little example here. I'll give you two of them. This was sent to me last week. This is an Uber ride that one of our guys was doing, one of our drivers. He did a ride for Uber. The ride cost the driver $52. Uber took 38 of that and gave him $13.73.
What? Oh my God.
It's criminal, right? It's commission. It's a really, really big deal. Okay, so about 9 months ago, I've known the McNulty family for a while. I always wanted to work for Bob. I see the way they operate, and I've always wanted to work for him. And I saw TRYP come out, and I said, man, I want to be a corporate employee. Tell me how I can work for you guys. Like, you know, I was a financial advisor at the time in LA, and I was just unhappy with what I was doing. And he said, well, just become an influencer. You can make a lot more money being an influencer than you can as a corporate employee. Just start promoting the company. And I said, okay, I will. So I started talking to some people online, some Uber tubers or YouTubers, and they came in, they signed up, and I started building some downlines. And I kind of just was doing my own thing. I was my financial advisor, because if you guys know, the company's come a long way in the last 9 months. We've really, really come a long way. At this time, things were kind of stagnant. We were working in the background. Well, anyway, 6 months went by. Bob said, "Hey, I have an opportunity for you. You're going to be out on the road. You're going to travel a lot. We need you to go to airports. We need you to be out there talking to people." I said, "Cool, sign me up." Drove around. We went all to the airports. Got all the airports in line. Filled out the applications. Funny enough, I knew Greg. I saw Greg because he was. Greg, you guys saw him. And Greg was one of the first guys that was promoting for us online. He saw the opportunity. This was back when everyone, oh man, it's never gonna work. It's not gonna be a thing, But he saw the opportunity, and he was kind of, educating people at the time. So I called Greg. I said, "Hey man, you wanna join up with us, link up with us? You can come along with the ride, come to the airports with us." So he actually made some footage of it and joined up with Vincent and I, and we drove from Miami to Tampa. Went to a couple airports. We hung out with Greg for a couple days. So since then, I flew back to California. I got my truck, my vehicle, because originally they wanted us to fly and rent cars and stuff. I said, well, I got a vehicle and this is a lot of moving, so I'll just drive it. So since then, I've been to 35 states. About 2 weeks later, we needed to hire someone else because we were moving real quick. So I said, okay, I went through my phone. I said, I want to hire somebody. I want to find someone that's really smart, super educated, really passionate about this, and that's where I found Nick. This was 2 weeks after. So Nick was living in Alaska. He had his band, played in a band, he's a musician. He was really happy with his life out there. He was living a good life. And he was pissed when offered this opportunity because he knew that it was going to take him out of his happy lifestyle, content lifestyle, and bring him into this. You know, he dives into things, and he dove in and he's like, man, I can't find any holes in this company. I told him I need to know within 24 hours, and the next morning he called. He said, I'm in. So he drove from Alaska all the way to Minnesota, flew to me in Chicago, and we've been working together ever since. At 35 states, we've been to over 90 airports. We do 3 things. One of them, we go to the airports, we submit the applications. So we're just going around submitting the applications because you need to be filed with the state, and then you have to be filed with the airports, because we all know if you're a TNC company, you need those TNC permits to operate at the airports. If you can't operate at the airports, you don't have a market. So we've been doing that. The next thing we do is we meet with you guys, the influencers. We get people going, we talk to them, we kind of spread the word, we educate. And we try to help you guys also educate, because we need to be able to talk this company, talk it, educate people in the streets. You know, you go to the airports and you got to be able to tell them within 2-3 minutes what it is. Third thing we do is, we haven't started yet, but we're going to really jump into this. This is the next phase. We do the TRYP Go location centers. So what a TRYP Go center is, it's kind of franchised. It's not, but it's similar. The community is going to work these TRYP Go centers, and you're going to be able to make profits off the people that sign up at these Go centers. It's like the Uber Green Light. I don't know what the TRYP or the Lyft ones are called, but it's similar to that. So we're going to get into that as well. But right now, we launch in 1 month. Fortunately for all of us, it's in Florida. This is a really, really big deal. You got to realize where we're at in the process. This is very, very early on. We have really large goals with this company. Not only are we going to start in America, and we're eventually going to move off and we're going to go overseas, but that's going to be a ways away. We still have to focus and zero in on the Florida market, build the proof of concept, let people know this is a real company, and then maybe we'll move over to the next market, the next market, the next market. It's going to snowball really quick from there, okay? One of the reasons I wanted to work with Bob McNulty, he's a very successful business guy, but he's a really, really good dude. Some of you guys have met him, and you'll see him in a month, and we're really excited for that. He started shopping.com back in the late 1990s. He grew that company to over $300 million in a very short amount of time. It was the first online retailer before Amazon, before Overstock, before those large companies came about. So he was a visionary. He also, this is more impressive to me, he started a home club. He grew that to 14,000 employees and $1 billion in revenue in 1 year, which is really, really, that's massive, right? So he's kind of built his team over the last couple of, 20, 25 years, and some of those guys are still working for us now. So we're both really excited to be a part of this. Kind of talk about the community aspects of the company. He'll dive into the stock options a little bit, kind of dive into why Uber and Lyft are not profitable, and how we're going to be, how we're a little bit different, and how we operate a little bit different than them, obviously. So one thing that wasn't mentioned in there that I really like is the book of business. As we all know, you got the book of business. It really incentivizes drivers to provide very good service for the riders. Nick will talk about that a little bit too. We'll get into the book of business. So anyways, a lot of people, because I was part of the company a little bit earlier than Nick, everyone kind of like, oh, Eric's here. Also remember, Nick was just two weeks after me. And the reason, he was one of the smartest people I know, so that's why I hired him. Because I don't, I can talk all day, he can talk till he's blue in the face. So, not to put any pressure on him, but we're gonna let Nick talk a little bit.
Hey guys. Well, first of all, I want to congratulate everyone here for being on the right side of history. Every time there's a revolutionary concept, it's faced with a lot of adversity, right? Every time something changes the game, I like what you said. Doesn't have, just because it's different doesn't make it better, but it has to be different to be better, right? So there's this concept called the red ocean, blue ocean concept, and there's two different approaches you can take to a business. You've got the blue ocean. The red ocean is just a bunch of sharks fighting over, trying to create the same kind of business model, right? So Uber and Lyft to Uber is that red ocean concept. They're just trying to make the same business model. They're all fighting over the same market share. TRYP is a blue ocean concept, right? It's open, it's vast. We're gonna take that market share because why wouldn't any driver want to be a part of this? Completely revolutionary concept. Is anybody familiar with the adoption curve? Does anybody know what that is? All the way across the country to San Francisco. The guy that started, the founder of Uber, just bought a $75 million house. Like, these guys are like, you know, and they're not even profitable, right? So, so these are centralized entities that are taking a lot of money outside of these communities and bringing it back to the West Coast. They also have massive marketing teams. Like, we know someone that works for Lyft gets paid like $250,000. One of the heads of marketing over there, and a lot of these guys are getting paid six figures, you know. And so what they're doing is they're taking that. These guys are getting paid six figures, and they're allocating company money to advertising agencies. So they're spending money in two areas that they don't necessarily need to be spending money in. You guys are our marketing team, right?
Yep.
So right there off the bat, we're creating revenue streams for everybody to help build this company organically, and all that money is going to be staying and circulating in these communities. It's a beautiful model, and even riders, you know, referring other riders, you know, everybody can make a revenue stream off this, even free app users, right? So we're really focused on creating as much, decentralizing as much of that money, keeping it circulating throughout these communities rather than sending it back to greedy corporations and massive advertising giants. How many people use rideshare? Everybody uses rideshare, right? This is an industry that's expected to increase eightfold over the next decade. Right now, it's over $100 billion in valuation between the two major giants, Lyft and Uber, and via whatever else, over $100 billion. So you imagine over the next decade, that's going to increase about eightfold. So almost $1 trillion industry. Car sales are down 10% in the last year. Just in the last year, people are like reverting to get to work, to get to the grocery store, whatever. Insurance is so high in Florida, especially. So people are making that transition. So over the next decade, if it's increasing eightfold, either that means that 8 times the amount of money that's being extracted out of these communities going to San Francisco and advertising agencies is leaving these communities, 8 times the amount of money, or we have 8 times that amount of money staying in these communities and circulating and being redistributed back to the people who are actually doing the work, which is everybody here. So that's kind of the direction that this rideshare thing is heading. Stock options, I wanted to touch on that. Another reason why this is such a conscious business, we want the drivers to own about 20 to 30% of the company when the dust settles. Something that Uber and Lyft never did. I don't know why you can't talk to a single Uber or Lyft driver that has any sort of stock in the company, except now that they went public, right? So we want to reward the drivers to own a portion of that company. Driver influencers, let's be clear about that. To qualify, you have to be a driver influencer. But you guys that are helping us build this company, we want you to own a piece of this company. So if you guys sign up within the next week, you get 80,000 points, which translates to 800 shares. So it's 100 to 1. So and then you start earning points based on every 5-star trip you give, based on every driver you refer, every rider you refer, every trip you take. You know, how many trips you take, it all matters on how many points you get, right? So you just start accumulating and you reach these tiers, and then they double on each other. So just because you reach another tier doesn't mean you don't get the tier below. It adds on. It's a big compound, right? So there's a lot of potential for you guys that are in on this early to like own a really good chunk of equity in this company. So our shares are valued at about 75 cents right now. That's what Rob was saying. Like, you know, it's not public or anything, right? But he expects it to be about 75 cents. Lyft's shares are about $60 right now. We have far less shares than Lyft, about a quarter of the amount of shares that Lyft does that are circulating supply. So that means if we reach a quarter of what Lyft's valuation is, our shares would be $60.
Wow.
Yeah. Then, I mean, I see us outgrowing Uber, you know?
Boys, yeah.
We've already gone through all those.
Some of y'all sit down.
Okay.
In the house, y'all.
Damn, I should have had that on video.
TRYP.
We're tripping.
Yeah.
All right, guys, so that was a meeting. All these great people. Hey. So all these great people just finished seeing the presentation. A lot of them were new people. It's cool. A lot of them were new people. A lot of them were drivers.